to talk to me today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having us.
And I'm very nervous, just so you know.
No, don't be nervous.
I
It's
have
like talking to a couple you've met in a pub. If you go to pubs, I don't know.
I do go to pubs.
All right. So here we
All
are.
right.
You met this couple in a pub.
Yeah, Sam and Lydia, thank you so much for agreeing
Thank you.
Thank
to
you.
talk to
Thank you
me
for
for
having us.
Wolf Sound podcast. Thank you so much. I have been binging on your videos since the very beginning, since you started. When I found you, it was like you gave me my sanity back.
Okay.
And I'm still binging on it. And no matter how much I watch, there's more to know. It's unbelievable. So naturally, I prepared like over 60 questions, and I'm sure we're gonna manage not to overwhelm the podcast for you and Lydia. Okay, so I'm gonna start by introducing both of you. Okay.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Wolf Sound podcast. I have the Sam Vaknin and his wonderful partner, Lidija Rangelovska. And Sam Vaknin is the author of Malignant Self-Love, Narcissism Revisited, as well as numerous other books on psychology, relationships, philosophy, economics, international affairs, and he's been featured in award-winning documentaries. Vaknin serves as a visitor professor of psychology at Southern Federal University, Rostov-on-Don, Russia, correct?
That's
And as a professor of
in
finance
history. That's in history.
and psychology at SIA.
Yes, I'm a professor in SIAPS, which is a Commonwealth Institute in Cambridge, United Kingdom. I used to teach in Southern Federal University until the invasion of Ukraine, at which point I was basically expelled.
Right. Okay. And
Is there a
of course,
delay? Is there a
renowned for his
delay?
pioneering work on narcissism.
Judita, is there a delay in the sound? Like you hear me a bit later?
Oh, is there?
Leslie.
I'm asking, is there a
I think
delay?
I hear you immediately as soon as I.
Yeah?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Is there a delay on my end? Okay.
There are
There
indications.
is some delay.
Yeah, there are
Definitely.
indications of a delay. Yeah.
Okay.
So we need to be very patient when we finish our sentences.
Oh,
We need to give space to the other to respond by waiting a few seconds, like 1 or 2 seconds. Okay? Okay.
Two,
So
three.
let's go.
sure. Renowned for his pioneering work on narcissistic personality disorder, Vaknin is the one who coined the term narcissistic abuse, among others that are now globally used in clinical settings, and started his channel long before narcissism came into public awareness. Lidija Rangelovska was the first to create a website on narcissism in the 90s. She's the CEO of Narcissist Publications and editor of Sam Vaknin's books. She was also featured in other documentaries together with Sam, including I, Psychopath, Egomania, and Moi, Narcissistic et Cruel. Thank you both
Thank you for
for
having us.
being here.
Thank you for having us. Now we can transition from Sam Vaknin and Lidija Rangelovska
Question
to
number one.
narcissism. and
Question one.
question number 1. Yeah.
Out of 60.
So first, about your book title, I love it so much, Malignant Self-Love. Sometimes I wonder, though, have you considered the title Malignant Self-Loathing, since narcissism is based on self-loathing? Why did you go with Malignant Self-Love?
Because self-loathing is the outcome of self-love, a kind of self-love that is disappointed. It's exactly as if you were to fall in love with someone and that someone would disappoint you, then you may well transition into loathing. From love to loathing, it's a very short way. And what happens with the narcissist disappoints himself or herself. Half of all narcissists are women. But I'm going to use the male gender pronoun. the narcissist disappoints himself early on, even as a child, and the self-love becomes embittered and resentful, and there is a lot of grief, a lot of rage, and ultimately the self-love becomes self-loathing. It metastasizes, it becomes malignant and cancerous. And as I said, even in human relationships, which have nothing to do with narcissism, we very often transition from love to loathing and back because these are very close emotions. And actually, there is a clinical term for this. It's known as ambivalence, where love and hate are considered to be essentially the same emotion with a different affective coloring. If you want Lidija to answer any of these questions, you should indicate it.
Wow.
Well, now he is better.
Oh, no, absolutely. I want to hear from both of you. And Lidija, I have questions for you as well. So the next question is, you found strength to finish this book under grave circumstances. And I know that the average person, the issue with the average person is that their emotions get the best of them. So what is it about narcissists that are able to set the emotions aside and achieve their goals so beautifully?
Actually, they are not able to do that. But you're partly right. Narcissists have no access to positive emotions. So they do not experience, for example, love or joy. All positive effects are excluded in narcissism. However, narcissists have a direct experience with negative effects, negative affectivity. For example, hatred, envy. Envy is a major component in narcissism. It's actually one of the diagnostic criteria in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. Anger, fear, and so on. So narcissists do have very intense emotional experiences. Only all the emotions are black and negative and dark.
So they never experience joy, like you're never happy.
No, they do experience. They do
Or
experience.
you mean,
Mhm. Yeah. So they do experience something which is called elation, narcissistic elation, but it has nothing to do with joy as we know it, as healthy people know it. Narcissistic elation is simply the affirmation of a grandiose, fantastic, unrealistic, counterfactual self-concept. It is when their grandiose fantasies and delusions are somehow supported or buttressed by the environment or by other people. Then they experience elation, but it's not joy. And yes, the answer to your question is narcissists are incapable of experiencing any positive emotion, not only joy, but as I mentioned, love and so on.
So from my understanding is that our emotional health is very critical to achieving success. So also for you, Lidija, like if we're around that much negativity coming from the narcissist and the narcissist is living in that negativity, how do you manage to still achieve great goals? A lot of narcissists are very successful.
You're asking me or asking
No,
Lidija?
I think me, right?
Right.
They're
Okay. Lidija.
yeah, I mean, for you, how do you manage to keep your emotional alignment if you're around negativity? What do, like, a lot of people in narcissistic relationships have goals and dreams, and then they end up missing out on so much because they're depressed and angry, and they become someone completely different.
They don't become, they already were shaped. They had their own personality as distorted as he described. Narcissists learn to live with only with negative emotions.
No,
And
she's asking about the partners.
But that is narcissist. And I was looking when I was growing up, I learned to look for happy moments, for joy and so on. So I preferred, it was like choice to have positive emotions because I was maybe fed up because of my setting, the family dynamics and so on. I learned how to get out of the narcissistic space and to allow myself to feel happy. So I don't mind in which state the narcissist is. It's his job. It's his thing, not mine. I can be concerned. I can be helpful. I can be there for making, for example, Sam happy. But he won't recognize that, but there are some joyful moments. And for me, they are good enough to live with. I can cope. I can cope with a narcissist just by staying away of his narcissistic space. I created my space, and it's different, and it's a more emotional, more sensitive, with more positive emotions. And yes, I can function. The thing is that I always have to make agreements. Okay, in order to achieve things together, to live with a narcissist all the time, there is have to make agreements and to keep on, because narcissists have goals. While I will talk about myself, I have dreams, I have wishes to fulfill. So there is a big difference between goal and achieving daily wishes. I want to laugh, I want to be with people. He doesn't want to be with people. You understand what I mean? So, okay, let him stay at home. I will do my positive emotional needs. I will fulfill them. And that's it. It's actually, it's also like a safe preservation, because I won't allow anyone to feed me with only negative emotions. Since I'm sensitive, I am not allowing, I have to put some healthy boundaries, not to become depressed, not to become like the narcissist expects, starting from his point of view and what he is. So in this space, if there are no healthy boundaries, you actually allow a narcissist to take advantage of you and turn you into a narcissist as well. I can't afford it. I am more addicted to happy moments. Thanks.
That's why she's with me.
That's a lot of resilience, because it's very hard to be this grounded and aligned, or if somebody's calling you names like all day long when you're about to like give if somebody keeps saying, I'm stupid just before I come and talk to you, then it takes a lot of shifting around to be able to actually
it is, and it takes time to learn all the, actually for me it's the most important one thing, to differentiate when there is projection.
Yeah.
So if you can resist the projection and not to feel guilty about any criticism, you don't feel the need to justify yourself, then you can preserve your resilience. Okay, so it's tough, but I must tell you, to some extent, it's also funny, because there are Peter Pans forever, more childish than grown-up, mature people. Because
Yes,
since they are stuck in the past, right?
yes, it's very funny. And then there are also, like, I come to this later, but like it's a great lesson. It's for the partners to know about their own how to align themselves, how to heal old wounds, to the triggers, so they don't take on the projection. And I think sometimes it's a blessing when a narcissist has become really abusive. At least they tell us what's wrong with us as well. So, wow, okay. Thank you so much for this answer. It's fantastic.
Welcome.
So, Sam, you have been diagnosed twice as someone with NPD, a narcissistic personality disorder. I'm not sure, were you also diagnosed as a psychopath, or did you suspect?
We did agree before the interview that you are not going to ask me about my private life.
But this
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it because it's
That
you,
happens to
you
be my private life. No personal questions.
edit out from the video. Okay.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
please
I
proceed.
sorry. I didn't realize it was personal. Okay. So, okay. Okay. So, Lydia, you answered my next two questions about how to be grounded in the face of abuse. So basically, the best advice for partners of narcissists is to go and be
The sound is very
you
problematic.
and feel right.
Judika, the sound is very problematic. You will have to repeat the last question.
yeah.
There's a problem with the sound. I think maybe you are in an area
I
with
was
good connection.
She's static.
I hope it's let me shift to what to
Don't worry, take your time. Don't worry.
okay. Is this better now?
Well, we'll see.
Okay, sorry.
The last
I mean,
question.
Egypt and everything here is very minimal, you know. Okay, I wanted to ask that most narcissists if they don't give credit to their partners who support them the most. They don't say thank you, they don't acknowledge their efforts. Is there a way for the partner to create their own legacy, even though the narcissist takes away their credit or kind of like mutes them, puts them in the shadow? And would you advise narcissists in general that it's for their best interest to actually acknowledge people and offer gratitude, because then it would be much more beneficial to them and the supply will not be cut from them? Is there a way?
Is it for me?
Never mind. I think you're better.
If you are firm, if you are determined to make your wish come true, right? You will collaborate with many different people. There will be also narcissists, there will be psychopaths, and so on and so forth. If you and yes, you can have your own life, and not necessarily to become just a supply and taken advantage by the narcissist, right? For example, I made the book not only for Sam, because I recognize something in value in the book about narcissism that would have been helpful to many others as it was helpful to me. So when you don't pay attention to only to narcissists, you can achieve things and they will be recognized. Not narcissists must recognize them because your name appeared there. Any idea or something? Yes, it should be published, should be known to others. So it's not that there is no gratitude, no thank you from the narcissist. As far as I understood, that is what there is recognition. Narcissists do recognize other people's gifts, talents, and they take advantage of them, but it's still up to the other who is providing them to demand to be recognized, not to other people as well. Okay, so when it becomes public, it's a different story.
I want to put the last two questions in context. The narcissist does not recognize the externality and separateness of any other human being. Narcissists do not recognize other people as separate from them. They do not recognize other people as external to them. What narcissists do, they convert people into internal objects. and they continue to interact with the internal objects, never with the external objects. So a narcissist wouldn't say thank you because it's ridiculous to thank oneself. The object is internal, it's not external. Why would I thank an internal object? It's me. The internal object is me. Also, the internal object is under my command and under the narcissist's command, because it's internal. The narcissist owns this object, controls this object, is able to manipulate this object. The object will never abandon the narcissist because it is inside his mind. So what's the reason to say thank you? It goes without saying. It's like in the army, the colonel will not say thank you to the private. It's the army. That's the way it works. Additionally, because the narcissist doesn't perceive other people as external and as separate, the narcissist is unable to truly relate to other people. He is able to relate only to what he gets from other people, what he obtains, what he takes from other people. He cannot relate to the source. He relates to the outcomes. And that is why Lidija said that narcissists are goal-oriented. Actually, they are less goal-oriented than psychopaths. Psychopaths are much more goal-oriented. But I would say that narcissists are outcome-oriented. Like, what's in it for me? What am I getting? And when the narcissist gets something, they do say thank you. But they don't say thank you to the person who gave them. They say thank you to what they have received. This distinction is very important. Now, the victims of narcissistic abuse are between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, they can say, I'm not external, I'm not out there. The narcissist doesn't recognize my personal autonomy, my independence, my separate existence, and so on and so forth. So what do I care if he abuses me? He's not abusing me. He's abusing an internal object. I don't exist in the narcissist world. So the abuse is meaningless. One option. But victims find this very difficult to accept. And so they say, no, I do exist. I am in the narcissist's life. And when he abuses me, he's doing it to me. It's directed at me. What victims refuse to accept because they cannot, because it's mind-boggling and it's terrifying. What they refuse to accept is that they do not exist in the narcissist world. They do not exist. They are totally interchangeable. They're fungible. They're dispensable. They're disposable. They are devices like a smartphone or a refrigerator. They provide. What do they provide? I call it the 4 S's. The 4 S's is sex, services, supply, and stability. 2 of the 4 S's are enough. But the narcissist is not focused on the service provider. The same way you are not focused on the service provider of your internet. You are focused on the internet. You're focused on the bandwidth and the broadband and what you're getting. You're
useful.
You are not getting emotionally attached to the supplier of the internet, but you are going to react emotionally when the internet is bad, when you're not getting the service. And that's exactly the relationship. And victims absolutely refuse to listen to this because they say it's not true. I have been chosen because I'm special, because I'm empathic, because I'm intelligent, because I'm drop-dead gorgeous, because I have been chosen. And what they don't understand, they have not been chosen. What they can give has been chosen. What the services, the supply, the sex, this has been chosen. But anyone can give sex, supply, services, and stability. Anyone. That's why when the narcissist discards you, the next day, if he is very slow, the next day he has another partner.
Or two.
Or two. Because you're all the partners are like grains of sand or rice, grains of rice. You know, they're totally identical in the eyes of the narcissist. So I think what I'm trying to say is don't take it personally. It's not personal. Not the abuse, not the thank you, not the I love you, none of it is personal because you do not exist in the most profound sense of the word. You do not exist. There is in the narcissist's mind a series of snapshots, photographs, an album of photographs. And he interacts with these photographs, with these snapshots. The clinical term is introjects. He interacts with the introjects, not with anyone outside. And that's why Otto Kernberg, the father of the field, suggested that narcissists are psychotic. That is pseudo-psychosis, because psychotic people cannot tell the difference between internal and external. The psychotic person hears a voice, there's a voice in his mind. He says, it's not in my mind, it's coming from the outside. He has an image, he says, it's not an image, it's really there. You know, that's a psychotic. The narcissist is the same. He says, you don't exist, you're just a figment of my imagination, you're inside my mind. And so you really shouldn't take it personally. And it's never ever about you, not in a good way and not in a bad way, but also not in a good way. You have not been chosen. You're nothing. You're nobody, period. And that's something victims are very angry at me for saying, and they cannot accept.
Right.
And until they accept it, they will never heal.
Yeah. Does the narcissist ever introject when the victim retaliates with cutting words or abandonment or rejection? Like sometimes the victims become very hurtful back to the narcissist. Does he introject if she insults him or exposes his weaknesses and stuff? Would it scar him?
Whenever there is a discrepancy between the external object and the internal object, whenever there is a gap between you as a real person, independent, agentic, autonomous person out there with your own friends and family and decisions and choices and life and traveling and whatever it is you do, and the internal object, which is static, which is inert, whenever there's a discrepancy, something opens between them, daylight, this creates in the narcissist dissonance. This creates in the narcissist dissonance. And this dissonance gives rise to anxiety. And then the narcissist tries to reduce the anxiety by devaluing you. He says, I don't need to be anxious because the source of the anxiety is worthless or stupid or ugly or my enemy. So he converts you into a persecutory object. There is a short period of time, like 2 minutes, that the narcissist says, oh my God, this is coming from the outside. This attack is coming from the outside. But then he immediately shape-shifts the internal object. He immediately redesigns the internal object. And now the internal object, for example, is an enemy. And that would explain the attack. And he doesn't need to continue to interact with you anymore because now he's interacting with an internalized enemy, introjected enemy. So yes, if you challenge a narcissist, but you don't have to challenge a narcissist by shouting at the narcissist. You challenge a narcissist when you make a decision. You challenge a narcissist when you have a good friend. You challenge a narcissist when you love your family. You challenge a narcissist when you go on a trip.
Exactly.
When you're alive, you challenge the narcissist because life means change. So any change, any proof of life undermines the internal object, the cohesion and validity of the internal object, and the narcissist then goes through dissonance, anxiety, devaluation, and sometimes persecutory object, converts you into an enemy. This is the way the narcissist restores the internal object so that he can continue to interact without any discrepancy. Because if you're an enemy, of course you're shouting at me. Now it's okay that you're shouting at me because now it's coming from the inside, not from the outside. The persecutory object is shouting at me, not you. You understand? It's a rewriting, constant rewriting. Narcissism is very exhausting. It's energy depleting. You constantly have to rewrite the environment, reframe reality, reinvent scripts, perceive people as puppets, internal objects, then arrange them, rearrange the furniture, the mental furniture. Narcissist is busy 90% of the time just maintaining equilibrium.
Yeah.
and homeostasis, 90%, whereas healthy people, 10%, 5%. Narcissism is 90% maintaining balance. That's why the narcissist needs narcissistic supply.
all the
Yeah.
time.
This narcissistic supply is the fuel that allows the narcissist to the food that allows the narcissist to somehow maintain the balance. Although fuel and food are bad metaphors, but okay, never mind, bad similes. But this is about maintaining balance in the face of a reality that constantly pushes back, constantly challenges. Constantly, reality is not, constantly. The narcissist is constantly faced with proof that his beliefs about the world and about himself and about other people as internal objects, these beliefs are nonsense, fantastical, counterfactual, idiotic, childish. Constantly, reality is informing this, telling the narcissist this. And the narcissist has to shut off these voices, shut off this information. Otherwise, he will fall apart. In addition to that, and I will finish with that, and I'll give Lidija some time also. In addition to that, the narcissist has something known as internalized bad object. Internalized bad object used to be known in the 30s as a primitive superego. Internalized bad object is a constellation, a coalition of voices, internal voices, introjects, that inform the narcissist that he is inferior, unworthy, bad, stupid, ugly, etc. Narcissism, pathological narcissism, is compensatory. It's an attempt to silence these internal voices, to prove that they are wrong. So if you put the two together, the internal voices that keep attacking the narcissist from the inside, and the external voices, reality, that keeps attacking the narcissist from the outside, you realize that narcissism is a defensive posture. It's constantly on the defense, defending against reality, defending against other people, defending against voices inside that are trying to take you down and cause depression, for example. So this constant war, it's a battle zone,
So the rage that they have against someone else is essentially a rage against themselves. And if they feel envy, if they feel envy towards others, isn't that an admission that they are external?
No.
Because he can't be envious of himself.
No, it's not. It's both the rage and the envy have nothing to do with other people. That's a common mistake, unfortunately, also in some of the literature. The rage is not about other people because other people don't exist. The rage is about proving to yourself that you are godlike. That the narcissist wants to prove to himself that he's omnipotent, that he can, for example, terrorize other people, that he can establish discipline and obedience by intimidating other people, that he can frighten other people, that he is all-powerful, that he is super strong, that he is, invincible and indomitable, and so on and so forth. So the rage is a form of communication between the narcissist and the narcissist. The insecure part of the narcissist is triggering the narcissist to rage so that the narcissist can compensate for the insecurity. Because when the narcissist rages, he is God. Everyone is frightened. Everyone obeys. Everyone is terrified. And the narcissist feels, oh my God, I am really God. That's not a fantasy. I'm really superior to other people. Envy is the same. Envy has nothing to do with other people. There are no other people in the narcissist world. They're only extensions, figments, and so on. Envy has to do with the fact that the narcissist idealizes himself. There is a process called co-idealization. The reason the narcissist idealizes you is because he owns you. So if he idealizes you, he owns, he's in possession of an idealized object. And because you're ideal and he owns you, you're his property, it makes him ideal. It's like owning a luxury car, a flashy car, So it makes you more of a man or more of a... So the narcissist, when he idealizes himself by idealizing you and in other ways, when he creates the grandiose distortion of reality, automatically creates a good object. Yes, if you're ideal, if you're perfect, if you're brilliant, if you're handsome, if you're genius, then that's a good object. But don't forget, narcissism starts from a bad object. The minute the narcissist idealizes himself, there is a dissonance between the good object that he has created by idealizing himself and the bad object that is very active all the time. And they clash. And one of the ways they clash is that the bad object envies the good object. This is the source of envy.
Wow.
But it's internal.
The envy is internal. Everything is internal. Everything in narcissism
Wow.
is internal, period. But the narcissist experiences envy. And he doesn't, the narcissist doesn't know about bad objects, good objects. He just experiences envy. So he experiences envy and he says, why do I experience envy? That's so bizarre. I envy him. In other words, he invents a narrative that has nothing to do with reality to explain to himself why he is experiencing this emotion of envy. Now we have experiments and studies where we demonstrated conclusively that people have an internal experience, and then in order to explain to themselves why they're having this experience, they invent an external narrative. One of the most famous experiments we made in psychology is that we gave students, of course, students are the guinea pigs, we gave them drink that created tachycardia, created heartbeat, a fast heartbeat. So suddenly their hearts were speeding up, and they didn't know that there was something in the drink. They felt palpitations, and the heart was fast, and the pulse was very, and they said, why? And they asked themselves, why am I feeling this? And the answer of most of them was, I'm falling in love with the woman that just passed. They convinced themselves that they were falling in love. Similarly, with the narcissist, the emotions, the negative emotions, only negative emotions, are internal. The anger is internal. The grief is internal. The fear is internal. The envy is internal. It's all internal. And it's all kind of directional. The various internal objects and the various constructs envy each other, are angry at each other. And so it's all internal. But the narcissist is experiencing this. He's experiencing envy. He's experiencing anger, sometimes out of nowhere. Sometimes the anger he's alone. Suddenly he's very angry or very envious.
He's alone.
And he says, why am I angry? And then he goes back and he finds something that happened 6 hours ago. I said, that's why I'm angry. Why am I envious? Why am I envious? Why am I envious? Oh, I saw something on the news 2 hours ago. I envy that person. These are complete nonsensical false narratives intended to justify the internal dynamics, which are highly uncomfortable, highly dissonant, anxiety-producing. And there is constant war and clash between the various voices, the various introjects, the various constructs.
Wow.
The way we should not want to become narcissists.
No, totally not.
No, because
It's
there were
exhausting.
many, like, look, there are like, I would like to become a narcissist. I said, don't say it again. I mean, but they are achieving things. I said, no, they are just using other people to achieve and to be known for achieving something that is not theirs. It's not their
Yeah.
accomplishment. So it's, and they usually end up badly. I mean, not in a long term in life, they all end up in a very bad, like,
Yeah, because when you hate yourself, when
you're
you loathe,
distracting.
when you loathe yourself, when you're envious of yourself, when you're angry at yourself, and when you grieve the fact that you could never become a normal human being, you know, with grief that starts in early childhood. When you have all these tsunami avalanche of negative effects constantly consuming you from the inside, triggered by internal processes that you don't even know are happening. At the end, you say, the hell with it. I just want to destroy everything myself. I want to destroy myself. But because the narcissist doesn't have the concept of external, when he becomes self-destructive, he also destroys the environment,
Yeah.
everyone around him, everything around him, because they don't exist. They're internal. When the narcissist becomes self-destructive, he destroys everyone around because they are inside his mind. He doesn't realize that he's destroying them. He's destroying himself. So when he destroys his wife or his children or the nation, if he's a political leader, as far as he's concerned, he's just getting rid of his own mind. He's getting rid of the vestiges in his mind. It's nothing happening outside. It's all inside.
They are actually not aware before they decide anything. They don't even think about the consequences, how it will influence other people, what will be the outcome of it, not long-term planning to be, for better. No, it's just a struggle in their mind. If I can do it, if I cannot do it, I will prove to myself. No one else is taken into a picture, into a plan of the narcissist.
Because there is nobody
That's
else.
why we say that they don't have empathy. But if they need some service from you, something, they will be kind, charming, blah, blah, blah. We know that. But you can also spot that they are false. It's I don't understand why so many people, victims of abuse, they can't spot the narcissist. They have a feeling. They know that there is discrepancy. They
know.
want to show something positive. They're emotional, but the response, the feedback from the narcissist is completely different. Not fitting normal emotional response. So you can say, they could have said actually to the narcissist that there was they felt bad. They did not, they are communicating with someone who is emotionless.
Yeah.
And they are cold, pretending. You can see that they have mask on their, when you talk to someone, yes, we all pretend to some extent, but then when we relax, we find, ourselves in a discussion, you losing it. And so you don't have to put so much effort. Narcissists, when you're communicating with a narcissist, they put so much energy in it. They calculate every word. You understand? You can see that they're struggling inside even to express themselves, they don't want to beg you for the service, So they must put a mask for you to fall in love or whatever, for them to pretend that they are kind and caring so you can help them, So this is where the gap for being abused is opened, because you trust that they are like you and that they are emotional and their intentions are good. So it's not like that.
Yeah, because like we project our own good qualities or ideals onto the narcissist, and also if we're lonely and if they're really good looking or whatever, we're willing to bypass anything. And sometimes we choose to be with a narcissist. Like sometimes it's a conscious choice. I want to stay with this man because non-narcissistic people or healthy whatever people, they also sometimes lie and cheat. And at least with a narcissist, I kind of know what to predict in his unpredictability versus.
But depends. It depends if you had narcissistic parents. So don't forget that. Not everyone can stand. A normal person, child who grew up in a caring home, it's they don't stand such people at all. That I know for sure. They don't stand them. They immediately say, come on, he's a bully. This is the word they're using. He's a bully. He's pretentious. You know,
They see the
they
insecurity.
recognize it immediately. But I grew up in such, so I'm molded to live only with the narcissist. I know them best. Okay, their manipulation, lies, the inner fight, and what fits me personally is that I'm useful.
Yeah.
So I'm helpful.
Need to be.
Yes, well, what he is reminding me, I had some how can I say, like a phrase, need to be needed. That is
Yeah.
what makes us human being, to help the other. And you know, another day you will need someone's help. They will help you. You know, there is always, this is the out from a very human construct. Not from now, from since we started to live on the earth like human beings, you know. So this is the very basic need, to need someone else and to be needed by someone else. But now that they are narcissists, you know, some children that were only neglected, and that they live like in spite of themselves, of their parents, in effect. It's tough. I don't envy them. I don't want to be with them, you know, but who will come, who will approach, maybe I will help. Not always, but also boundaries are very important.
I want again to
healthy boundaries.
I want again to place this in clinical context. Because Lidija speaks
About myself.
of life. She speaks of life. She speaks of life experiences and so on. And of course, it's extremely valuable. But it's good to put it also in clinical context. When the narcissist first auditions you. When you pass the audition, the narcissist tests you in a variety of ways. I'm not going into it right now, but when you pass the audition, the next step is acquisition. It needs to acquire you. So acquisition, the various techniques like love bombing, and the various ways the narcissist acquires you. But to acquire you, the narcissist needs to bait you. The narcissist needs to convince you that you are much better off with him than without him, and that he has something to offer that no one else can offer. These are very tall orders. These are very high barriers to entry, very high thresholds. How does a narcissist succeed? Time and again, almost all the time. How does a narcissist succeed to pull this off? Because the narcissist offers you 4 baits. He baits you in 4 ways. And I'll describe the 4 ways. But before I go there, it's important to support something that Lidija said. Studies in Harvard demonstrated that we're able to accurately judge the personality of another human being within 3 seconds. That's Harvard, not a conspiracy theory on the internet. Other studies, and there are many of them, other studies have shown that people are able to diagnose another person with narcissistic personality disorder between 75 and 85% of the time accurately after being exposed to that person for fewer than 30 seconds. In other words, once you are exposed to someone for 30 seconds, you have a 75 to 85% chance to diagnose them accurately with narcissistic personality disorder, even if the exposure is via video or email.
The choice of words.
Yes, the choice of words and so on. So people online who say, I was deceived, he's a good actor, that is self-justifying nonsense.
That means narcissistic.
That's
more narcissistic.
No, not always, but they lied to themselves. They deceived themselves. As you said, they were lonely. They were starved for sex. They wanted the drama. I mean, something in them, or maybe they were good people and they said, I shouldn't judge people too fast, or I should give a second chance, you know, good people. So, but
Mhm.
the absolute uncontested fact is that you can diagnose someone with narcissistic personality disorder within the first 30 seconds, period. That's universal, 85% accurate. Okay.
Incredible.
What are
But
the baits? Yes, sorry.
but do you believe yourself, your instinct, when you will meet such a person? So this is
Yes,
something that I
I
always remind.
and it's very
we are
yeah to
taught,
trust your own instinct.
we are
So
taught,
we also doubt.
Yeah.
So we also doubt ourselves, right? And we also have our narcissistic defenses pop up when we are insecure about something. But the mind says, okay, he is a good guy. He is smiling. He brings me flowers, whatever. And and we tend to ignore or to suppress the originals that we have, the senses that are telling us, warning, he is not what,
Yeah.
So we are also, so this I say that we are also, it's healthy narcissism in us, but still it's a decision who you will trust, your instincts or wanna be, for example, wanted woman or woman with the flowers in this case that I said. Do you understand what I say?
Yes.
Yes, a narcissist caters to some of your psychological needs, and sometimes you compromise. You
Yeah.
say, I mean, unconsciously, it's all unconscious. You say unconsciously to yourself, yes, there is an alarm, there is red alert, there are warning signs, something is wrong, something is off key. This person is not put well together, he's half-baked.
Something is wrong.
It's not a finished human being in a way, but I feel safe with him, or he buys me flowers, or I need sex, or I will no longer be lonely, so this is all an internal process. It's nothing to do with the narcissist's alleged acting. Narcissists are actually horrible actors, by the way.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
And
because they
also,
overdo it, they exaggerate. But I want to go back and discuss
That will be
debates.
fine.
I want to go back and discuss debates that I mentioned. I said that the
Okay.
narcissist baits you. And there are 4 ways narcissists do that. There are 4 types of baits. The first bait is what I call the dual mothership. When the narcissist converts you into a maternal figure, what the narcissist does, he exposes you to his childlike side. Narcissists are children. They're really children. Their mental age, their psychological age, 2, 3 years old. So what the narcissist does, he gives you access to the parts of him that are still stuck in childhood. And all of us, men and women, we feel protective when we come across a kid, 2-year-old toddler, 3-year-old infant. We feel protective. We feel that we want to preserve the well-being and the welfare of that. So the narcissist, when he's with you, he shows you his child side, and you become a mother. Instantly, you become a mother. You develop maternal instinct, even if you're male. It's nothing to do with gender. At the same time, the narcissist also acts as your mother. He also becomes your mother. He claims to love you unconditionally. He idealizes you. He's very supportive. He's very helpful. He's very protective.
Provider.
He's defensive. So you, at the same time, have a double experience. You become a mother to a child, and it's not just any child. It's a traumatized child. It's a child in need. It's a crying child. It's a child in distress. So you become a mother to this kind of child. And at the same time, you get a new mother and a second chance at a childhood, second childhood. This is irresistible. It's very addictive.
Especially if they had traumatized child.
Yeah, so no, I'll come to it. That's another bait. So this is the first bait. Whether you have had a traumatized background, a trauma background, whether you've had a dysfunctional family in your life, is not relevant in this case, because even totally healthy people, totally healthy, totally put together, fully functional people, react very powerfully to infantile signal, to a signal that comes from a child. So this is one. Second bait is shared victimhood. The narcissist comes from a dysfunctional family where the narcissist experienced abuse and trauma, and the victim comes from a dysfunctional family where she experienced abuse and trauma. So they are siblings. They share the same background. They know the same language. They resonate. There is resonance. The resonance of pain, or the resonance of hurt, or the resonance of sometimes victimhood. They resonate. And the victim feels understood like never before, accepted like never before. And this is a totally intoxicating feeling. Totally. She belongs. She is at home. She found a home, finally. She belongs. That's a bait, a second bait. The third type of bait is fantasy. If you hate reality, if reality is intolerable and burdensome and sucks, or if you're not very efficacious, you're not very efficient in reality, you don't know, how to function in reality. Here comes the narcissist and says, you don't need reality anymore. I'm going to create a fantasy for both of us, and I'm inviting you in. Come into my fantasy, give up on reality. You give up on reality, of course, you give up on your personal autonomy, agency, ability to make decisions and choices. You give up on your family. You give up on your friends. You give up on your job in many cases. You give up on independent traveling. You give up on reality. And in return, you're inducted into a fantasy, and the fantasy is very soothing, very comforting, all-pervading. This fantasy that explains everything, accounts for everything, arranges, organizes everything, and so on. And it feels safe. So it's about safety, sense of safety. We have a name for this. It's called secure base. The narcissist creates the fantasy of a secure base, which again is something from childhood. When you, as an infant, you felt that mother is the secure base. And the last bait, these are all baits. These are all lures. They're intended to suck you in, to attract you, and then to make you addicted so that you cannot disconnect, you cannot detach. You're already addicted. It's an addiction. And the last bait is drama. With healthy, normal people, sooner or later, life is routine, mundane, boring, pedestrian, gray. It's normal. This is life. It's a good thing that life is like that. It's a good thing that life is like that. But there are some types of personalities, not everyone. There are some types of personalities that when they find themselves trapped in routine, in the predictable, they feel that they're dying. They feel that they're suffocating.
There is no life.
There's no life there. There's no color.
There is no life.
There's no color. It's black and white. It's not technicolor.
Yeah.
Here comes the narcissist, or the borderline, by the way. It's the same with the borderline. And they offer you drama. They offer you the unpredictable, the unexpected, the amazing, the fascinating, the fireworks. And the borderline does it in sex as well. The narcissist does it in life. The borderline does it also in sex. So she's sexually arousing in this sense. So the drama is a lure, is a major bait for some types of people. If you put all the baits together, the child, the drama, the fantasy, the victimhood, that covers, I think, 80% of the population, maybe more. And that's how the narcissist hunts for you. He's a predator. You're the prey. He hunts for you and uses these 4 weapons to actually kill you, because narcissistic abuse is about taking away your existence. It's not about taking your money or taking your sex or taking your other types of abuse are like that. You have financial abuse, you have legal abuse, you have verbal abuse, you have psychological abuse, sexual abuse. They're all limited. Sexual abuse is limited. Narcissistic abuse is about making you unalive, not alive, deanimating you, rendering you an Egyptian mummy, a corpse. And I will finish by reminding people of the movie Psycho. Hitchcock's movie, Psycho,
Yes.
where there is Norman Bates, who is a narcissist, definitely, and he killed his mother, and he embalmed her. He converted her into a mummy, Egyptian mummy.
Yeah.
And he puts her, every morning he goes up, he washes her body, her
Cares,
corpse.
cares for him.
He washes her, he puts her on a chair facing the window. In the evening, he comes up, he takes her from the chair, he washes her again, puts her in bed, talks to her a bit, kisses her, and goes down. She's dead. She's a mummy, and that is the ideal partner for a narcissist. Ideal.
I'm mind boggled because you literally answered like so many of my questions in
Good.
one.
Very good. We are efficient.
Um, okay, so because I was coming into the sons with enmeshed mothers and how they create narcissists, and I did think of like this movie Psycho. Was he killing that woman because he couldn't kill his mother?
He
Because
killed
like
his mother.
he immortalized his mother, and like, but she's dead, but she's still sitting by the window, and he's arguing with her, and she's still criticizing him, and then he went and stabbed that random lady in the shower. So is he trying to kill?
The reason the narcissist converts his partners into mothers is because the mother in the narcissist, the mother introject, is jealous. She's jealous of it's a competition. So
His actual mother is jealous.
there's no actual mother. There are
Sorry,
no people out there.
no
The
people.
voice in his mind, the introject that represents his mother,
Okay.
is jealous. This mother wants monopoly. She wants exclusivity because the introject inside the narcissist's mind is perceived by the narcissist as a part of himself. It's not mother out there. It's a mother voice. It's a mother introject, which is a part of the narcissist. And the narcissist is sexually attracted to himself. It's a well-documented clinical phenomenon known as autoerotism. So put the two together. The narcissist is never sexually attracted to another person. It's a myth. He is never sexually attracted to another person. He is sexually attracted to himself only, and the mother is a part of him. So of course he's attracted to her. She is the narcissist. She is a part of the narcissist, and he is sexually attracted to himself, including his mother. So he's having a sexual relationship with himself, which includes the mother. So when you have a sexual relationship with someone, in majority of cases, you demand exclusivity. You would be very jealous if that person would sleep with someone else or fall in love with someone else. And this is the core issue in Psycho. His mother drives him to kill that woman because he's falling in love with that woman. And his mother is jealous. But of course, his mother is dead. It's the mother voice, the mother introject in his mind.
But what if the mother, like his biological mother, is enmeshed and is really jealous and doesn't want him to branch out and individuate? How do we even individuate? How is it possible for such a man to individuate later in life?
No,
He gets rid of his
individuation, you have two windows of individuation. One when you are a very small child, between 18 months and 36 months, and one as an adolescent. If you fail to separate individuate in these two cycles, then it's lost. You can never separate individuate after that. Then your mother is inside your head. She's an introject, and she never lets go.
What does the partner does with an enmeshed son? Like if he has a partner, if he manages to get a partner.
If the enmeshed son is not a narcissist, then the enmeshment is real. It's a kind of emotional incest.
If he's both, if he's
a narcissist, then he is not enmeshed with his mother. He's enmeshed. He's not enmeshed at all. He is simply reactive to introjects in his mind. One of them is a mother. So there's no relationship with the mother whatsoever. It's a relationship with introject. However, many men are enmeshed with their mothers, and they're not narcissists. And these men have severe dysfunctions, including sexual dysfunction.
Yeah, well, yeah, because of the jealousy thing.
there's a jealousy thing, and they usually regard all women as mother representations, and so it's difficult to have sex with mother. Yeah, so they stop having sex because it immediately becomes incestuous. There's ambient incest. It doesn't have to be real, physical. It's emotional. There is parentification, for example, parentifying the child, where the mother treats the child as her husband rather than the real husband, and creates a coalition with the child against the husband.
Yeah.
But we keep talking about opposite sex. Doesn't have to be opposite sex. A daughter can be enmeshed with a mother,
Right.
definitely. And the mother, for example, can create a coalition with the daughter against the father, against the husband. Enmeshment is not gender specific. There's no gender requirement. Enmeshment simply means that the child was not allowed to separate from the mother, create boundaries within which a self emerges, and become an individual. Divided. Child was not allowed to divide. So the child remains forever in a symbiotic state, remains forever a single organism with the mother in the mental way, in a psychological way. And that could be a daughter, could be a son, it's nothing to do with gender.
Right.
About connection. It's very important. The first emotions of getting connected, feeling connected with someone, and that is until in the developing years in the childhood. It's early childhood. It's so there is a lot of study behind, and how we are really appreciating, and how we really keep those introjects actually that are symbols of, not symbols, but it was like you belonged, you existed. They're proofs that you were connected to another human being. But always the first is the mother, and there are dynamics, that shape us much later.
The messaging from this kind of mother, the messaging is, if you separate from me, you're betraying me.
Yeah.
And not only are you betraying me, but you're risking my life. I will not survive without you. And that makes you a bad person. So if you separate from me, that's proof positive that you're bad, that you're evil, that you're useless, unworthy, whatever. So she creates a bad object. And so the child learns that separating from the mother equals betrayal and equals, matricide, is killing the mother. And the mother controls from the bottom. It's a clinical term. Control from the bottom means you control people by being helpless, by being needy, by being clinging. It's a form of emotional blackmail. And that leads to enmeshment because the child is taught, child comes to believe that he has a responsibility for his mother's happiness, his mother's existence, life, his mother's welfare and well-being. He assumes the responsibility. When these people become adults and go out into life, they continue with this. They continue to believe that they are responsible for the happiness of other people. They become people pleasers or codependents. They say, if my partner is not happy, it's because of me. I have the responsibility to make him happy. Or they say, I'm in charge of my partner's health. So they become pseudo doctor, like medical doctor at home, Or they say, I'm responsible for the welfare and well-being of my partner, so I need to engineer the environment all the time. I need all the time to make sure the environment is 100% responsive to the needs of my partner. And I need to mind read my partner. I need to read his mind. Telepathy. I need to guess what he wants, and I need to guess accurately 100% of the time. And if I fail to guess, it's my fault. That means I'm malfunctioning, or I'm evil, or so they have something called autoplastic defenses. They blame themselves when something goes wrong. And so And that's the exact opposite of narcissism, of course. That's why I kept telling you, you could have enmeshed people who
Yeah.
are not narcissists. They're exact opposite of narcissists. They're people pleasers, they're codependents. So the critical element is the introjection, not necessarily if it's a narcissist or not a narcissist.
Mm.
But the fact that this kind of person was never able to walk away, develop a self, and become. There was no process of becoming. And that's why there's a lot of grief. There's a lot of grief about who you could have been and were never allowed to be. There's a lot of grief about the fact that you were not allowed to use your gifts, your talents, your capacity, that you were not allowed to realize your potential, to self-actualize. There's a lot of grief about this. So these are all, in many ways, narcissism also, I regard them as post-traumatic conditions with prolonged grief. I think grief plays a major role in this. And the grief has two facets. There is grieving, depression, constant depression. I'm sad. And there is also shame. Shame that you could not have extricated yourself from this condition. The shame of helplessness. That's why narcissists lie to themselves and to others. I'm all powerful.
Yeah.
I'm omnipotent. In other words, I'm the exact opposite of helpless. I'm not helpless. They're like children, They're saying, I'm not helpless.
Yeah.
I'm God. I'm not helpless, And they think they're convincing people, but people see through them. They're ridiculous most of the time. They're comic.
But would you, okay, so I'm sorry, there's something I just don't understand quite fully. You said the Norman Bates from Psycho is definitely a narcissist, but he was also enmeshed with his mother, or would have, okay.
All narcissists are enmeshed with their mothers. Not all people who are enmeshed with their mothers are narcissists.
Oh, okay, but it's possible for a narcissist to be enmeshed with the mother.
All narcissists are enmeshed with their mothers.
Oh, okay.
Not all people who are enmeshed with their mothers are narcissists.
And psychopaths are also tend to be always enmeshed with their mothers.
No. Psychopathy is a completely different dynamic, different etiology, different causation, different personal history. The only thing common between narcissists and psychopaths is that we found that in the lives of psychopaths in early childhood, there was some adversity. It was adverse childhood experiences. So also psychopaths come from potentially dysfunctional families.
I thought they were born, like psychopaths are born and narcissists are made.
It's true that in psychopathy, there is a strong hereditary genetic component and there are brain abnormalities. It's also true that we have no evidence yet that narcissists are the same. In other words, we do not have any convincing evidence that the brains of narcissists are different. And we do not have convincing evidence that there is a genetic component. But I would be very shocked if this were not true. I think narcissists do have brain abnormalities. And I think narcissism is partly genetically determined, hereditary. Why do I think that? For two reasons. One, we have a family of disorders. They're known as cluster B. And in this cluster B, there is borderline, antisocial, including psychopathy, and histrionic. And we know that in the other three, there are brain abnormalities. We know that the other three are genetically determined. So why should narcissism be the only exception? And the second reason is sometimes twins or siblings, very close in age, siblings, are exposed to the same parents, the same environment, same dysfunction, same family, same everything. But only 1.7% of children become narcissists.
Yeah, why is that?
So clearly there is a genetic predisposition in my view. I think this is proof that there is some genetic background to this, because otherwise all the children would become narcissists,
It sounds so plausible, what you're saying, because I was going to ask if narcissists are made, then it would stand to reason that they would be able to change. But if somebody is incapable of
it's
change,
a predisposition. Don't confuse it. A predisposition means that if you're exposed to trauma and abuse in early childhood and you have this predisposition, you would become a narcissist. But if you have the predisposition and you are not exposed to trauma and abuse, you will not become a narcissist. The predisposition is like an empty Word document.
Right.
It's an empty Word document. What is typed into the document depends on you.
Right.
But if you don't have Word, Microsoft Word, of course, you will never become a narcissist. So if you don't have the predisposition, the template, then your chances to become narcissist are zero. But if you have the template, you have a high chance of becoming a narcissist if and only if you're exposed to bad parenting in a dysfunctional family. So that's a
So they
condition.
treat two siblings very differently. One would become a narcissist, and the other one, maybe golden child versus scapegoat, or one that is actually defined, like they just chose one person that became enmeshed and therefore became a narcissist also. And
No,
the
I
other
don't think
one,
so. I think both scapegoats and golden children have the same likelihood of becoming narcissists, but of different kinds. So the scapegoat is likely to be more covert, a
right.
covert narcissist. Whereas the golden child is much more likely to become overt, grandiose, and entitled.
And what's the child that doesn't develop narcissism at all, like the sibling that is not narcissistic?
So I said that only 1.7% of children develop narcissism.
Do you mind if I ask you about
Maybe you would like to ask Lidija some things.
No, just a second. Go on. Please.
I'm asking both of you all the time because I want to listen for, like, I need a week to talk to you, honestly, not 2 hours. Do you mind if I go a bit into shamanic medicine and ayahuasca?
I'm not qualified. I don't know. I don't know the topic.
Okay.
I'm not an expert on this. What I'm not an expert on, I'm not like the people on YouTube. What I'm not an expert on, I don't talk.
Yes, it always makes me laugh when you call them self-styled experts.
They are self-styled experts.
Okay, so give me one moment to
Yeah, take your
gather
time. No problem.
next questions. You answered about 20 questions in one go. That's great.
He is systematic.
Structured,
Oh,
ordered,
sorry.
ordered, structured.
Ordered.
Remember?
I have one more question in enmeshment, and then we go into more personality disorders. Is there a way for an enmeshed son in older age, maybe like 30s, in his 30s and 40s and 50s, to, I know you said individuation, you have 2 windows only. And I heard about people that coach these men to individuate from their mothers. Is that actually successful? Or like, is there a way for a man to suddenly become aware that he's actually enmeshed? Because sometimes they're not aware that they're
It
enmeshed.
seems like you're talking about someone specific. Is that your boyfriend or your husband or something? Because this is not therapy. This is an interview.
No, it's not. It's not therapy. No, it's not therapy. I'm just asking, is there a way for these men to?
I don't know why you keep limiting yourself to men. Enmeshment happens to both genders, to men and
Yeah,
women
I know
alike.
it's easier to.
Their connection with mothers.
Yeah.
Like he said, that there are 2 opportunities to individuate from the mother. Okay,
Yes.
it's in the early childhood or later in adolescent. Everyone who is after 30, 40, he is not individuated. He is still connected to the mother. Okay. The third option to individuate from the mother and when she will pass away.
No, no.
But he will still be enmeshed though. Like he will still.
No, that's wrong. No.
That's most of the cases. You said what is the percentage and so on.
I think
Most of the percentage.
Lidija, like you, is confusing separation from
individuation. To be independent
it is possible
of
to
the
teach,
mother, to cut the tie with the mother.
It is possible to teach people, for example, to not be in touch with the mother or to say no to the mother. when the mother asks something. It's possible to teach people this. This is
But
behavior.
the introject is enormous.
Yes, it's possible to change, modify behaviors, and it's possible to modify behaviors in the long term.
Right.
But it is not possible to reverse a failure of separation individuation after adolescence. It's not possible. In other words, the introject remains. The complicated internal relationship with the mother introject remains. The mother's voice is very active and has a dynamic influence, has an influence on the internal world of the person. And this, after maybe 21, there's a debate. After early 20s, this is a lost cause. There's nothing to be done about this.
Okay, I have can you please tell me very, very simply one distinct difference between a narcissist and a sociopath? Because in my mind, sometimes I feel like shouldn't narcissist and sociopath be one title, like antisocial personality disorder? And also you just mentioned that psychopathy is included in that. I always thought that psychopathy is not a personality disorder. It's a mental deficiency of some kind.
Wow, that's quite a confusion.
I thought they're very different. I don't know where I heard it, and it was in my mind, I thought either in one of your videos or from Dr. Robert D. Hare that psychopathy was separate from the personality disorders. I just
We're saying exactly the opposite. He wants psychopathy to be okay. Sociopath is just the old word for psychopath. We have been using the word sociopath until more or less the 1960s, together with the word psychopath, and then we stopped using sociopath. So today we are not using this word in clinical psychology or in universities, or the word sociopath is not used. It's simply the old word for psychopath. So as opposed to what self-styled experts are saying online, there is no difference between sociopath and psychopath, and they're making all kinds of differences. They're saying psychopath is born, sociopath is made, and all kinds of other nonsense.
Society and stuff.
Yes, and that is complete nonsense. Sociopath is just the old word for
I was one of these people, so.
psychopath. Yes. And now regarding psychopath, as you perhaps know, psychopath, the word psychopath is not included in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual.
Right.
In the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, we have only antisocial personality disorder. However, it is increasingly accepted, including in the text revision of the DSM, it's increasingly accepted that there is a very extreme form of antisocial personality disorder that we might as well call psychopath. So today, the mainstream, what we teach at universities and so on, is that a psychopath is just someone with an extreme form of antisocial personality disorder, the same way that a malignant narcissist is someone with an extreme form of narcissistic personality disorder coupled with psychopathy and sadism. So we have extreme forms.
Mm-hmm.
Now, antisocial personality disorder and psychopathy, which is a form of antisocial personality disorder, are, by definition, personality disorders, because that's what it says. Mm-hmm. However, you're right to point out that there is a debate. There are scholars, myself included, who believe that antisocial personality disorder is not a mental illness, and that psychopathy and so on should not be described as a personality disorder at all. Mm. These are people with a highly specific attitude to other people, values, highly specific values, a lifestyle. They reject authority, they're contumacious, they're defiant, they're reckless. Yes, absolutely. It's a personality style or a character style. It's not a mental illness. And we believe, these kind of scholars believe, that it should be removed from the DSM, no longer considered as a mental illness. And there are other scholars, and they include Robert Hare, who think exactly the opposite. They think that psychopathy perhaps is the only mental illness, or the only personality disorder. that psychopathy should be included in the DSM, and that antisocial personality disorder should be removed from the DSM, and psychopathy should replace it. So,
Sam, would you give me 1 second because the recording stopped and I have to pick it up again?
okay, although I'm recording.
No.
Okay, will you send it to me after?
Yes, if you want.
Okay. I'm just gonna.
But you can start, you can attempt to record if you wish.
Yes, I will restart the recording. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're both recording.
Okay.
So there are these two schools. One school says antisocial personality disorder and psychopathy are not mental illnesses. They should be removed from the DSM. And there's another school, Hare, Babiak, others, who say that actually psychopathy should replace antisocial personality disorder and that it is definitely a personality disorder. So there's a big debate between
Yeah.
scholars. Psychopathy and narcissism have a few clinical features in common. For example, psychopaths are grandiose, exactly like narcissists. Grandiosity is not narcissism, although self-styled experts often confuse the two. Grandiosity is a kind of distortion of reality, and it's common in borderline personality disorder, antisocial, narcissistic personality disorder, bipolar disorder in the manic phase, paranoid
Yeah.
personality disorder. So grandiosity is something that applies to many mental health issues.
Mhm.
When you drink alcohol, you become grandiose. That is known as alcohol myopia. So
Yeah.
grandiosity is not narcissism. It's a common mistake online.
Mhm.
However, both psychopaths and narcissists are grandiose. And narcissists become psychopaths in some situations. Borderlines become psychopaths in some situations.
I'm getting to this question because it's extremely
Psychopaths,
confusing.
yes, psychopaths become narcissists in some situations. So there's a lot of fluidity, a lot of flux. As circumstances change,
Yeah.
they morph into each other. Any clinician would tell you, anyone, any therapist would tell you that you could have a client who on Monday is a narcissist and then something bad happened, and on Wednesday is a borderline. Anyone would tell you that.
Yeah.
So these categories, this categorical approach is very wrong, completely wrong. And so I reject the way the DSM diagnoses people. I think it's antiquated, it's 20 plus years old, and it's counterfactual. It's not how it is in reality. I adopt the ICD way of diagnosing. ICD is the other diagnostic manual. It's International Classification of Diseases. The ICD is used by 80% of humanity, 80. The DSM is used by 20% of humanity, but unfortunately, these are the 20% who own the media, the Americans. So that's why we think the ICD, the DSM is the big thing. The ICD is the big thing. 80% of humanity use the
And
ICD.
it's more accurate.
And in the ICD, for example, there is no narcissistic personality disorder at all.
I see.
So there is what they call personality disorder, which sometimes is narcissistic, sometimes is borderline, sometimes psychopathic, sometimes paranoid. Anyone who has lived with a narcissist would tell you that narcissists easily become paranoid. They have paranoid personality disorder.
Yeah,
And anyone would tell you that they have obsession compulsion, they're obsessive compulsive. And anyone would tell you that they have mood disorders, they have depression. And it's nonsense to separate people into groups, pure types. It's complete nonsense. It's completely wrong. Not true. However,
oh, sorry. Okay.
however, as people transition between types, as they transition between disorders, as they change, yes, the emphasis change. Some things are emphasized, others are not emphasized or de-emphasized. So as the narcissist, because of some crisis, mortification, injury, lack of narcissistic supply, collapse, as a narcissist becomes temporarily a borderline, in that temporary stage, as a borderline, he would become emotionally dysregulated.
Yeah.
So certain traits, certain clinical features appear when you as an individual transition between different mental problems, different mental issues. So what are the differences between a psychopathic phase, not psychopathic disorder, psychopathic phase, and a narcissistic phase? What would be the difference when a narcissist becomes a psychopath for a few days or a few weeks? How could we tell that this narcissist is no longer a narcissist? He's a psychopath now. There are a few major differences. First of all, the psychopath does not need other people. He is not dependent on other people, whereas the narcissist is dependent on other people. Narcissist needs
Very much.
narcissistic supply. The psychopath couldn't care less. The psychopath is a lone wolf. He couldn't care less about you. Consequently, of course, exactly like the narcissist, psychopaths don't have empathy.
Right.
Second difference. In the narcissistic phase, there would be a confusion between reality and fantasy. In the psychopathic phase, there would not be such a confusion. The psychopath is totally grounded in reality. Another distinction. The narcissist is unable to tell the difference between internal and external. The psychopath is able to tell the difference. So, but all narcissists have psychopathic phases. And I will finish by mentioning another distinction, which is made, of course, by online experts, self-styled experts. And that's the distinction between overt and covert narcissists. Overt and covert narcissists are phases. Every overt narcissist becomes sometimes covert.
Yeah.
Every covert narcissist, given the right circumstances and the right people, becomes overt. Every narcissist is sometimes overt and sometimes covert.
Yeah.
It is true, however, that some narcissists, statistically speaking, are more overt than covert. They spend more time being overt than being covert. And some narcissists are statistically more covert than overt. A bigger part of their life, bigger chunk of their lives is spent as covert rather than overt. But all narcissists are both overt and covert. Whereas if you go online, self-styled experts say that there is pure covert and pure overt, and the overt is never covert and the covert is never overt. And that's very unfortunate. This profusion of nonsense online is really, really very threatening and very unfortunate.
Yeah. But may I ask you just to emphasize on how a borderline personality can morph into a psychopath? Because it seems, how can a personality have that many emotions? Like, it's built on dysregulated emotions, and the psychopath is so aligned and grounded, and their emotional range is a bit less than the
I think
borderline.
Lydia has experience with this, but
But he will explain. I shared my experience, but he is good in explaining it.
first of all, borderlines do not become. So there are two types of psychopaths. There is a primary factor 1 psychopath and a secondary factor 2 psychopath.
Yeah.
Secondary factor 2 psychopath is a psychopath that has intense emotions. It's a psychopath who is impulsive, has no impulse control. Consequently, this kind of psychopath is very reckless, takes risks, very dangerous to himself and to others. And it's a psychopath who has empathy. So the secondary psychopath is not a primary psychopath. And the confusion again online, of course, is this. The borderline transitions to a secondary psychopathic state. Now, why do we call it a psychopath? If this kind of person has empathy, has emotions, sometimes has shame and regret and remorse.
Yeah.
Very common in secondary. Why do we call it a psychopath? Maybe we should find another word. We call it a psychopath because the core features of psychopathy are there. For example, aggression, which sometimes becomes violence. For example, recklessness. Doing things, committing acts without considering the long-term consequences. That's called recklessness. Defiance, in your face, my way or the highway. I'm right always. I'm always right. You're always, this is typical psychopathic feature.
Yeah.
contumaciousness, the hatred and rejection of authority, behavior that is very often self-defeating and self-destructive. These are core features of psychopathy, both secondary and primary. And because all of them exist in the secondary, we say that this is a type of psychopath.
Mm.
Rather than, and in borderline, for example, someone suggested a distinction between shy or quiet borderline and the classical type, whereas the shy and quiet borderline is aggressive and so on, but internalizes the aggression. She aggresses against herself. She becomes depressed and so on. I completely reject this distinction, but I'm mentioning it because it's very reminiscent of secondary and primary psychopath.
Right.
The borderline becomes secondary, never ever primary.
Okay. That's
The
important.
narcissist becomes primary. That's common. The psychopath, when, for example, the psychopath goals are frustrated, when the psychopath is unable to obtain goals, he compensates by becoming a narcissist. He temporarily becomes a narcissist. He's grandiose, he's entitled, he self-enhances and self-aggrandizes and so on. That's his way to reduce the dissonance and the anxiety of having failed to obtain a goal. So all of them, we could consider all these conditions as compensations for other conditions. When the psychopath fails, he compensates by becoming narcissist. When the narcissist fails, he compensates by becoming borderline. These are all compensatory states within one giant kaleidoscope. But the kaleidoscope is one. There are not 10 kaleidoscopes. It's one. It's just every time we look into the kaleidoscope, which is a different picture. But it's the same kaleidoscope.
Is that why they're attracted to each other? Is it like I noticed borderlines do great with narcissists and psychopaths as couples, or what is it? And why also, why would someone with borderline be with a cerebral narcissist, for example?
Do you think I'm borderline?
How would you know?
No, do you think if I'm borderline?
How would you know?
No, I
just asking because she gave an example. Why do they think they're good?
my impression of you is someone who's quite grounded. So no, borderline did not cross my mind.
Okay.
Thinking
No,
of you at
because
all.
you asked the
Actually,
question, because many people.
no, I because they assume that you are. No,
No, but when they
like
know me better, they change their minds. But usually, it's the most common. It's most common borderline to fall in love and to have relationship with narcissists because they want to live in fantasy land of the narcissist. So they like agreed. Let's do our fantasy world, but it collapses very fast. Sorry, you wanted to say something?
No, I'm just clearing my throat. Please continue.
Sorry. She asked
I wanted to know, like,
So,
why would
why
would anyone?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, there's a delay. I guess because of the delay, I just wanted to know why any woman would want to be with a cerebral narcissist who, like, she has libido, and especially if she's borderline and relies on her sexuality, and then she meets somebody who denies her completely as if she doesn't exist. Like, why are they still addicted to each other?
So, the borderline's main concern, main focus is to avoid two types of anxiety. One is colloquially known as abandonment anxiety. That's not the clinical term. The clinical term is separation insecurity.
Okay.
So abandonment or separation anxiety on the one hand, and engulfment anxiety. The borderline falls apart if she's rejected or abandoned, but she also falls apart if she's exposed to too much intimacy and true love. She also falls apart. She can't. There's a Goldilocks area. There's a zone where the borderline is happy, and it is extremely narrow If you don't reciprocate her demands for attention and intimacy and love, you're abandoning her, you're rejecting her, she becomes aggressive and worse. If on the other hand, you do reciprocate her requests for intimacy and love, and then you are suffocating her, you're controlling her, and she becomes aggressive and so on. It's a tightrope act. It's very difficult to find the middle ground in the case of borderline, and narcissists are good at that, at finding the middle ground. Why? Narcissists are incapable of providing real love and real intimacy. So they're not threatening in terms of engulfment. The borderline never feels suffocated with the narcissist because there's nothing there, in terms of intimacy and love and so on. In the love bombing phase, there's mutual idealization or idealization. So the borderline does not perceive the love bombing as a form of intimacy and love. She is doing the same to the narcissist. She's idealizing the narcissist. He's idealizing her. This is the inception of the fantasy. So that's not what threatens her. As the relationship progresses, there's no intimacy and no love offered by the narcissist. And thus, this takes care of one of the anxieties, one of the twin anxieties. The other anxiety is rejection and abandonment. And the risk with the narcissist is there. Narcissists devalue ultimately and discard. But narcissists also provide external regulation. Narcissists exude confidence. They give the impression that they have all the answers, that they can take away from you the burden of responsibility. You don't need to be responsible anymore. You don't need to make decisions. You don't need to worry. Leave it to them. They will solve everything. So, and this is external regulation. The borderline is looking for a rock. She's looking for someone she could rely on. And in other words, she's looking for safety, a sense of secure base. And narcissists are great at providing this because they expect you to acknowledge this. So both parties benefit. When the narcissist pretends to be a rock, it's not a rock. Narcissists are very fragile and vulnerable and brittle, but they pretend to be rocks. So when the narcissist pretends to be this rock, he expects the borderline to confirm it, to observe it, to verbalize it, to say, wow, you're amazing. You know everything. You solve everything. You're incredible. And so he's getting narcissistic supply, and she's getting a secure base, a sense of safety.
Nice transaction.
And it's a perfect transaction. It perfectly fits. So the rejection and humiliation and abandonment and all these are mitigated. They're reduced by the presence of the narcissist, the constant rock-like presence, the fact that the narcissist is a secure base, affords a sense of safety that ameliorates to some extent the separation and security. And the other side, the engulfment, doesn't exist at all because there's no love and intimacy. So narcissist is a perfect fit for the borderline because with a normal person, with a healthy partner, the borderline would have two anxieties. With a narcissist, she has half anxiety. 1.5 anxieties disappear. So it's much better fit. Consequently, borderlines become addicted to the narcissist. There's a strong element of addiction. She gets intoxicated first, but then addicted. She's addicted to two things, not only to the sense of safety, but she is addicted to the way he sees her. She's addicted to the narcissist's gaze. She's able to self-idealize via the narcissist's gaze, therefore, and thereby experiencing for the first time in her life, self-love. Narcissist allows the borderline to experience self-love because in his eyes, she is perfect. What is there not to love? She's perfect. And then she looks at the narcissist, she sees her own reflection in the narcissist's eyes, gaze, and its perfection reified. And now she can love herself. And for most borderlines, for all borderlines, it's the first experience of self-love. And it's irresistible.
Mm.
It's addictive. The narcissist gaze is monopolistic. Only the narcissist can gaze at her this way. No one else can. So she becomes addicted to a pusher. It's a drug. And he becomes the exclusive pusher. In the whole city, there's only one pusher. So of course she becomes addicted. And she would never let go of the narcissist. Whereas a typical borderline, if she's truly abandoned and humiliated and rejected, because let it be clear, borderlines react not only to real abandonment and real rejection, but to anticipated, imagined abandonment and rejection. It's all in the mind. But whereas a typical borderline would react to abandonment and rejection, real ones, like if she's abandoned and rejected, would react by walking away because the person is no longer perceived as a rock. She would keep coming back to the narcissist. She would not come back to a healthy person who had abandoned her, rejected her, humiliated her, and shamed her. She would not go back to such a person. He is unsafe. But she would go back to a narcissist, even when the narcissist abandoned her, rejected her, humiliated her, and shamed her. She would keep going back because of these other things that he provides. External regulation, the ability to self-love, and so on. These are extras. These are the bonuses in a relationship with a narcissist that non-narcissists cannot provide.
Okay.
Speechless.
And are you speechless or speechful? Say something. I know you can say a lot about this topic, about borderline and so on.
Okay, Sam, I'm not going to academic speeches.
Not academic, but you have a lot of experience with borderline. With borderline, she wants experience.
Okay, but
Juditha wants experience.
Juditha, some other time we will agree. Only women. I'm also translating. You know how people, what would a borderliner say about the narcissist? They have different language. So there is when they are going back, hovering, you know, there are some other topics, but it's to translate the narcissistic expectations and what is the response, for example, from the others. If they're borderline, if they're psychopaths, the reactions, the dynamic between. That is interesting topic. That's for some other time. Now it's first. That is for another interview.
But,
I would love to repeat that experience. That's for sure, because there's a million questions in my mind. I want to listen to like so much. So okay, would you at least advise like how to deal with people that shame people that want to stay in these relationships, or how to hold space? It, like you said, Sam, like all the personality disorders, they change, like they're all malleable and they're interchangeable, but it feels that most people can fall under any of these disorders, and the behavior of people that seem to be normal or healthy according to society, that adhere by society's rules, they do a lot of awful
yes, human beings do awful things. It doesn't make them mentally ill.
Well, like they don't support victims.
Evil is not mental illness. There was a guy called Scott Peck, and he said evil is narcissism. Narcissism is another word for evil. Evil doesn't have to be mentally ill. The vast majority of stalkers are not mentally ill. The vast majority of abusers don't have a single mental illness.
I see.
Evil, hurting other people, diminished empathy, and they are not intricately and intimately linked to any specific mental health condition and so on. It's true that most psychopaths are ultimately evil, and many narcissists are ultimately evil. Although psychopaths are aware and narcissists are not, but it doesn't matter. They're ultimately evil. But vast majority of evil people are not. There was a guy called, there is a guy, I killed him. There is a guy called Goldhagen. Goldhagen wrote a book about about the SS, Adolf Hitler's SS.
Uh-huh.
And he analyzed the 3 million members of the SS, including the people, and especially the people who served in the concentration camps, in the extermination camps, in the Einsatzgruppe. The Einsatzgruppen were military units who were moving from one village to another, from one city to another, and they were killing the civilian population, including and especially women and children. And they were killing them by shooting them in the head. So there was a direct contact between the bodies, the smells, the sounds, everything. And so he analyzed these people. He analyzed 3 million of them. It's a giant study in the field. And he found that the overwhelming majority of them were totally normal people, totally healthy people. They had families, they had dogs, they liked Beethoven, they played the piano, they were compassionate with their neighbors, they participated in charity, so even the most extreme forms of evil, killing probably 1.5 million people directly with a gun, splattered with blood and brains, and so on and so forth. The people who did this were actually completely healthy and normal.
I'm sorry, Sam, you are frozen.
Yes, I've been frozen most of my life.
Is it okay on your end?
I've been frozen most of my life. Yeah.
Defrost?
And now you're frozen, Judita. We're both frozen. I succeeded finally to freeze this exchange.
I didn't know you were so cool. She disconnected.
No, she wasn't. The line went up. This is Egypt. The lines are horrible.
Look,
Okay.
I destroy all the chair.
I think we should call it a day in any case because it's all fine. Judita, I think in any case we have reached the end of today's talk because it's almost 2 hours.
Yes, I know. Can we talk again?
Well, let's take a bit of a break. Yeah, we can, but usually I put a few months different
Months, weeks.
months because of saturation. I don't want to saturate the channel with the same person.
No,
I
you
think
gave me a lot to think about. So let's go into the just last question.
Okay.
Do you think empaths are essentially narcissists? Because there's a trend, everybody's calling themselves empaths. Is this a way of grandstanding and separating themselves from narcissists?
Can I answer?
Yes, please.
An empath will never say that he is an empath.
Right.
Okay? So you diagnose them for whatever, but real empath will never say it.
Well, start with the fact that there's no such thing as empath. We have no studies that have demonstrated that there are people with more intense empathy or heightened empathy. There are no studies that support this. There are studies that support the notion that some people have heightened sensitivity. So we call them highly sensitive people, HSPs. But this sensitivity has to do with the body, not the mind. Highly sensitive people are people whose sensory inputs are very intense. So they hear, their auditory inputs are much heightened. They're much more sensitive to light or to. So these are highly sensitive people. It's nothing to do with empathy. And of course, empaths, so-called empaths, claim that they are highly sensitive people, not realizing that highly sensitive people, these are people with a brain abnormality. This is a brain abnormality where inputs via the senses are amplified and they overwhelm the individual. So there's no such thing as people with too much empathy, intense empathy, heightened empathy. Empathy is distributed in a Gaussian way. Some people are more empathic, some people less empathic. All people have empathy. That includes narcissists and psychopaths. Narcissists and psychopaths have a form of empathy known as cold empathy, which is a combination of cognitive empathy and reflexive empathy. They do not possess affective empathy. They do not possess emotional empathy. They don't react emotionally to the information that they're getting from other people, but they're getting this information. They have empathy. So everyone has empathy, and therefore everyone is an empath.
Right.
the people who go online and declare themselves empaths, supernova empaths, I'm kidding you not, and so on, so they're supernova empaths. And the people who go online and say that empaths defeat narcissists, the people who go online and say that they are dark empaths, and this is, first of all, unmitigated, totally unsupported nonsense. And second, a very powerful indication of underlying narcissism. It involves a lot of self-enhancing, self-aggrandizing, putting down other people, splitting. I'm all good, the narcissist is all bad. This is a splitting defense. Ironically, it is typical of narcissists. Narcissists do that, and borderline. So, yes, I'm convinced beyond any doubt that anyone who calls himself or herself an empath is a narcissist.
Thank you.
The majority of them might be covert narcissists or even not self-aware narcissists.
Right.
But I believe there's not a single exception. If you go online claiming to have been victimized and then making a virtue of who you are, aggrandizing yourself, putting yourself above others, demonizing other people, never mind who they are, and so on and so forth, that's a very good description of narcissistic behavior.
Yeah.
End of story. If it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's a duck.
What a beautiful way to end the podcast. I love that.
One thing, these empaths pop up, especially after the Corona period.
Yes.
I
And
know,
they
yeah.
were so disappointed in how their country's government, administration, institutions carried on. They lost trust. The basic trust in the institution, or they felt threatened. So they were,
Betrayed.
yes, threatened, betrayed, ashamed. They didn't develop some normal life before, what they were missing during the quarantine periods. Okay, so they were calling, actually, they pop up like popcorn, really, only after the Corona. You search and what happened, if they are mentioned just before 2020 especially. And they are calling actually everyone else on being responsible in the society. So make your research. It's interesting dynamic. What happened with the people in the social level and how they turn out to be more narcissists than ever. I was shocked. I was shocked.
I would add to this, and with this we'll finish the interview. When you feel helpless in reality, you're helpless. Nothing you can do. When you feel helpless in reality, very often, the only solution is to pretend that you're not helpless in fantasy. Pretend that you are superior, that you're all-powerful, that you're all-knowing. Fantasy is always compensatory. It compensates. So when in reality you're weak, everyone, people or governments are taking advantage of you, you are humiliated. What's the solution? To confront reality as it is? Some people are weak. They can't do that. It will break them apart if they confront reality.
So the defense.
So they retreat to fantasy. And in the fantasy, they are everything they are not in reality. And this is how the false self is generated. When the child creates the false self is everything the child is not. The child is helpless. The false self is omnipotent. The child cannot predict the behavior of the adults. Remember, it's a traumatized, abused child. Cannot predict the behavior of the adults. The false self is all-knowing, omniscient. The child is being told by the adults that he's stupid and ugly, the bad object. The false self is genius, perfect, brilliant. And the false self is a fantasy defense. It's everything the child is not. And empaths, in my view, are a form of fantasy defense. Because these people can no longer cope with reality. Maybe the relationship with the narcissist has been too much for them. Could also be.
Or with themselves.
But they have developed a narcissistic defense. They became narcissists. It's sometimes, and this has a name, Ferenczi, very famous psychoanalyst, Ferenczi. He said that sometimes the only way to cope with abuse and aggression is to become the aggressor or the abuser. So to embrace, to incorporate the abuser and the aggressor. So sometimes when you're with a narcissist and you feel really helpless and there's nothing good, sometimes you become the narcissist, because it's as if you're saying, from now on, I'm the one doing the abuse. I will never be abused again. You know?
Yeah. Wow, it's incredible. I'm so grateful for this,
Thank
and
you for your time.
I hope if we do talk again, we'll get into more like society and how like the world is operating right now. And of course, we mentioned forgiveness and lessons from narcissists and psychopaths. Like to have more positive conversations about it too, because I want people to understand why we stay, because we stay for a lot of the positive things as well. And I think it deserves an episode. But of course, I wanted to just like ask you anything in the whole universe. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us.
I'm very, very honored. And
Okay.
if you don't mind to send me your recording in case mine is not so good. Since
Your work was disrupted.
Yes,
You don't have it,
I will send you the record.
but our
What is
went
it?
well.
What is it? The evening? You're in Cairo? You're in
No,
I'm in Cairo, and I'm just an hour ahead of you. It's 6 p.m. right now.
6 p.m. So
1 hour.
مساء الخير.
Oh, thank you. مساء الخير. Thank you so much.
مع السلامة. Bye bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks. Bye.
you. I don't know how to